You straight up cuckooed that dude, bro. Oh my God.
You've got all your Charger gear on because
feeling fresh as hell.
Well, you guys better enjoy it.
The fans loved it.
You have to love what you're seeing on tape if you're a Chargers fan, especially for the future with Justin Herbert.
On the move and throws and touchdown.
Do this together.
Players, coaches, staff, fans, together we can create something truly special.
Stay tuned for some good content.
Hello. Welcome back to the Charger Chat. I'm your co-host, Wool Dog, sitting with my buddies, Kev, Hug, and Duggan.
What's up, guys?
Hey, and let's not forget Kyle, the coach, Duggan.
Hi, guys.
All right, folks. Well, as we said, we have lots to talk about this Friday. As we mentioned, news tends to drop right after we upload an episode.
It's just inevitable.
It's what happens. It's how it's done, folks. That's how the professionals do it. That's how we do it. But we've got lots of...
I feel like the natural response is, okay, then start recording a day later. Just push it back. Doesn't matter. If we started recording on Tuesdays,
be late.
News would
be
drop
late on
Wednesdays.
something. You know what I mean?
No,
early or late.
Yeah, there's no fixing it. It's just
it's
who
an
we are.
Imperfect system. We just have to go with it. But as always, we've got a Craig experience and a bold beat lined up for you guys. But let's start it off. Obviously, the big news. The 53-man roster has been solidified. As of today, it might have changed. I mean, there's a lot of guys getting cut around the league.
Squads getting all
practice
flipped
squads
around,
getting
all
picked up, all that jazz. So this may change, but as it stands right now, we're talking about the 53-man roster that dropped on Tuesday. First, looking at some of the notable cuts, Christian Covington, defensive lineman.
When I saw this, I was like, Fajoko's in.
Yeah.
It's done. As soon as I saw Covington, now I kind of was shocked, honestly, when I saw Covington's name come up right on, on Twitter. A whole bunch of people were blasting it out. I was like, all right, Fajoko's in. Let's go.
Yep.
And in reality, Christian Covington's been nothing but a backup for us the whole time. We kind of brought him in super late last year because we looked at our D-line depth. We're like, wow, this ain't it. And it's crazy how different our defensive line looks this year compared to last year.
Completely different.
The carryover is Tillery,
and Fajoko.
Well, Fajoko wasn't even on the 53. Like our 53
he would jump back and forth. Yeah, he wasn't
pretty much
consistently there.
Tillery. So not many of us really even want Tillery on that 53.
No.
Yeah.
So it's a drastic change. And cutting Covington is kind of that cherry on top of like, this is a fresh start. We're going in it brand new.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't believe that he had 8 years experience. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was in the league for quite that long.
Cutting a bet.
Yeah. Well, this player, you would have thought we would have cut, the number one wide receiver, Michael Bandy, wide receiver. Obviously, we all want to hold on to, as many players as we possibly can, but the rule is 53 players. And when the rule is 53, you got to make some tough choices. Yeah. And Michael Bandy was one of those guys. Hopefully he comes back to the practice squad, but there's a good chance another team's going to pick him up.
He just did too well in the preseason. I think a lot of people are bummed out at this because he was the most productive thing this offseason. Mm-hmm. So as fans, we're kind of a short-term memories in certain ways, and I do too. But like he's been the best part of the Chargers the last 3 games. So when you see that, you're like, oh shit. But we haven't seen Keenan, we haven't seen Mike, we haven't seen the guys that we all paid our money to come and see.
Boys.
I'm bummed that he's not there. I'm scared he's going to be one of those guys that goes on another team, becomes a starter right away, and goes crazy. But it's just the way, I guess.
Well,
it's
why?
It's hard. Like we keep carrying these 3 quarterbacks, and it just feels like there's people on here that I would rather have on our team than a guy that's just going to sit and do nothing the entire season. The entire season. Like a Mark Webb or a Michael Bandy, I just feel like should be on the team as opposed to carrying Easton Stick or Chase Daniels for really no reason.
Yeah. Mark Webb was also a notable cut. I mean, it's been a while since we've cut a guy that we drafted. In recent years, we seem to have held on to all the guys that we drafted and held them throughout their tenure. Mark Webb ended up not being one of those guys, as was Joe Reed. Joe Reed is another wide receiver, got cut. Gabe Neighbors, another guy we drafted, got cut.
That's the one that I'm kind of bummed out about. We've had a lot of episodes where we got to talk about him and his love affair with Justin Herbert, and him being the protein fairy, and taking care of him, making him shakes, making him meals, keeping his spirits up.
That's fun with Gabe.
That's gone. I'm curious to see if our new fullback is going to step in and replace that. I doubt it, but it's just kind of sad in that aspect of it. Friends not being on the team together.
Also, Cole Christensen was killing it in the preseason. He led the team in tackles. He was all over the place. I mentioned him on the Tuesday episode. Sayonara, sweet prince, Cole Christensen. I'm sure he'll land on the practice squad, and that's a good depth piece for one of these running backs. Is inevitably going to get hurt, it seems like, on our team.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, he should land it. It's the guy that the Michael Bandy's the one that I'm worried. I just don't think he's going to make it to the practice squad. I think someone's going to find a spot for him somewhere.
It's a valid concern. Yeah. And this other guy, sad to see him get cut. The guy with tree trunks for legs, Jamal Davis, our sweet boy, did not make the team. Neither did Emike Egbule. I think we drafted Emike Egbule, didn't we?
Yeah.
He's another
draft
guy.
Pick out of Houston.
Third cutting a lot of draft picks, which again, I'm not opposed to if they feel that that's the right move. Obviously, we've got a lot of talent in some of these positions, but just not something we're used to seeing from the Chargers team.
Hey, but guess what we're not doing? We're not cutting first-round picks we made last year. Am I right? You guys know what I'm talking about.
For correct.
Alex Leatherwood.
Wink.
Yeah,
wink.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Wow. That was fun to watch.
That's hard. That's hard as a fan.
Yeah.
That's tough.
That is a swing and a miss.
Man, that whole regime that just left just absolutely laid an egg in every way you can put it. Like, just terrible drafts. Like, I don't hire ESPN analysts to be your GM.
No,
bottom line,
don't do it.
And just to fire off some of these other names that we let go, Joe Gaziano, Kaman Hall, Hunter Kampmoyer, Eric Kromenhoek, Jason Moore Jr., and Foster Sorrell, and Brandon Sebastian. I think Brandon Sebastian was the one that you were kind of,
that's okay,
mildly rooting for. Obviously, we don't want,
wish him luck. Maybe he'll get better and get on another practice squad.
Exactly. So looking at the actual 53-man roster, quarterback, obviously, Justin Herbert, Chase Daniel, Easton Stick. Running backs, we're looking at Austin Eckler, Joshua Kelly, Larry Roundtree, and Isaiah Spiller.
So all four. I forgot about that too.
All four of those guys.
The question is, there's been a lot of names kind of floating around, and maybe this happens by the time this actually comes out, is Larry Roundtree is that fourth running back. If there's somebody that becomes available that is a bit more exciting, who knows what happens with that position? You know what I mean?
Well, I saw Marlon Mack got cut by the Texans. There's guys out like
Marlon Mack,
guys that
Sony
are
Michel. There's some names in the running back room. I don't know what kind of cap space we have anymore. I feel like we're going to start roaming into the negative if we start making any other big signings. But obviously, if these guys are getting cut,
then we're not going to be able
to get them on the
They're not going to be a big signing.
They're not going to cost a lot of money.
League minimum.
So fingers crossed, there's some wiggle room in our cap space. Wide receivers: Keenan Allen, DeAndre Carter, Jalen Guyton, Josh Palmer, and Mike Williams. These obviously aren't in order of like first string to last string, but 5 wide receivers. These are all solid guys, all guys that we wanted to make the team. Tight ends: Gerald Everett, Trey McKitty, and Donald Parham.
So this right here, this makes me think that Donald's going to be ready to go pretty soon.
Yeah,
like I feel confident.
Wait, is he not ready to go now?
Well, he's been hurt the last few weeks. He hasn't.
He wasn't practicing at training camp,
so that was a concern.
But that wasn't head. That had nothing to do with the
concussion, it was leg stuff, I think. And then he, the fact that they went with 3 means he's ready to go. So hopefully we'll see these 3 guys and they can stay on the field and stay healthy.
Absolutely, good point. Offensive linemen: 9, count them. Will Clapp,
9.
Matt Filer, Brendan Hymus, Zion Johnson, Corey Lindsley, Storm Norton, Trey Pipkins, Jamari Sallier, and Rashawn Slater.
Save the best for last.
That's right. On the defensive side, defensive line, as we mentioned, looking completely different. Braden Fahoko.
Crazy how different this is.
Yeah, this is absolutely completely renovated.
Braden Fahoko, Morgan Fox, Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day, Tito Abonia, and Jerry Tillery.
Can we name the 6 from last year? Justin Jones. Who else was out there?
Linval
Joseph. Christian
Covington.
Braden would jump on there.
Joe Gaziano.
Yeah.
Braden was in and out.
Is that it? I think that's it.
I think that was 5.
I mean, Justin Jones and Linval were the two big boys.
The two big departures. But yeah that's completely overhauled. It's Jerry Tillery is really the only guy that's sticking around.
Exactly. Yeah. That was so clearly what we saw as fans, the run defense and them not being able to contain and close gaps and just take the totally address this offseason.
Yeah. And hopefully Jerry Tillery can be that change of pace, passing down, maybe get some pressure, because that's just about what he's good for right now as an interior pass rush specialist. And maybe he has some juice if he's coming off the bench.
Well, and
that's what we hope.
He flashes. We've seen him flash and have great plays. It's just when he's on the field for 90% of the snaps, that's when he falls apart. Hopefully, I'm just trying to, we're the shamelessly positive.
Yeah, we're being
hopefully he'll find a niche that he can really, flex his muscle in and get really good and come in, not all the time, maybe play 40% of the plays, if that, and then kind of see what happens.
Absolutely. My hope is we're talking about it being a completely different line besides Jerry Tillery. Now we've got all these other guys, arguably more talented guys than what we had last year. Hopefully that raises Jerry Tillery's playing ability as well. If he's surrounded by better talent, maybe that raises his stock as well.
100%.
Looking at the outside linebackers, we've got Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Chris Rumpf, and Kyle Van Noy. Van Noy. Inside linebackers, Kenneth Murray, Nick Neiman, Eamon Ogbongbemiga, Troy Reeder, and Drew Tranquil.
Yep. We all expected these last two. We absolutely expected these. Where they were going to put Kyle Van Noy in terms of where it landed.
On the roster.
Inside, outside, whatever it was.
Roster.
Yeah, he's just going to be there somewhere.
That's where he is.
Yeah, wild card.
Yeah, give him his own category, wild card.
Wild card.
And then the defensive backs, 10, count them, 10 defensive backs. We've got Nasir Adderley, Bryce Callahan, Mike Davis, Alohi Gilman, J.C. Jackson, Derwin James, Deion Leonard, Asante Samuel Jr., Jasir Taylor, and J.T. Woods.
Big overhaul there, too. I mean, like
huge.
Tavon Campbell, all those guys. It's a
had to play
revamped defensive
completely
backfield.
revamped.
I mean, who are the new guys? Bryce Callahan, J.C. Jackson, Deion Leonard, Jasir Taylor, and J.T. Woods, all brand new. So half of that room.
Yep.
Yeah,
completely
defense
different.
Is new, man. I'm excited to see what it does.
I am super excited. And then the specialists, Josh Harris, Dustin Hopkins, and J.K. Scott. So 2/3 of those new guys as well. I'm excited to see, talking about the defensive line, I want to see what the run defense is going to be, because obviously that was borderline abysmal last year, arguably the linchpin to what the season ended up being.
It's how it ended. Literally, that last drive of the season for us was that.
Yeah. So I am anxious to see how the run defense does this year, and we are going to see it at that home opener. I am so excited to see all of these guys play together.
Excited.
It's going to happen so soon.
All right. Well, now let's look over at some of the news. Haley Elwood tweeted out, Trey Pipkins III is the Chargers' starting right tackle, according to head coach Brandon Staley. So
it's been said.
Good job,
Give
Trey.
him a round of applause. The man worked his butt off and earned the spot. These coaches know a lot more about football than any of us do. They see something. I believe in them. Let's go get it, Trey.
I don't think they watched your last Coach's Corner, but
I was just wrong. It's possible.
Yeah.
I like to agree with you when you say that kind of thing most of the time, but you're not always wrong. You're right sometimes.
We just got to help. Maybe we'll help him. He'll keep developing. Let's get after it, Trey.
So we flip it. We're the shamelessly positive Trey Pipkins podcast now, right?
Absolutely.
We're all in.
Starter.
Let's go.
I was thinking about it today. Like, we're talking about Trey Pipkins wanting to be at least, serviceable. We talk about being serviceable. If we want him to be serviceable, what does that mean? Is it like winning half of his snaps, keeping Justin Herbert safe at least 50% of the time?
More than that.
More than that? Is that
more than that is I don't know.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I just don't want him to look foolish. I just think as long as he doesn't look foolish out there, then we're serviceable. Like just swings and misses and just absolutely not in the right spot, lost in space. Just don't do those things.
Keep the banana cream pies off to the side, the banana peels, leave them
off
home.
The field. Keep them off the field.
Keep the seltzer bottles at home, folks. I don't want this guy to look foolish.
Don't.
All right? No food fights on the sideline. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Well, let's look over at Coach Staley, what he had to say about Trey Pipkins. He said, Trey Pipkins will be the starting right tackle for us. I told you I will tell you when that expressed itself.
And it expressed itself. Yeah.
No, he didn't say that. Trey had a very quality camp, as did Storm. It was a really good competition for our football team. Trey definitely earned that position. I'm really proud of Trey. He's come a long way since 1 year ago today. It's what the NFL means to me. That's why you stick with players. You don't ever stop. You don't ever give up on anybody. You stay with them. You keep at it, and you keep competing together. Trey deserves full credit because he's the one that invested so much in this game. His coaches, his teammates on the O-line have really helped him get to where he's at today. Really proud of him.
Hey,
Woo.
I'm in. Coach, you sold me. I'm in. I think maybe the guys around him going to make that even better. He's going to get more confidence. He's going to start feeling where he needs to be and not whiff on stuff. That's going to be great.
That is
Coach, sometimes it is okay to move on, though, from people. We don't have to always keep all of them all the time. Trey,
Right.
let's go. It is what it is this year.
Yeah.
Just in general, you do have to cut people, right? Like some people got to
Well,
go.
It's a thought.
obviously, he's not afraid to cut people. We've seen, like I said, guys that have been drafted that were still on rookie contracts that got cut. So he's not afraid to do it. And then Daniel Popper tweeted out, Brandon Staley said, cornerback J.C. Jackson is back in the building and lifting with the team. Jackson is wearing a walking boot and is day-to-day per Staley. Staley said team will have clear timetable once walking boot comes off.
Let's go.
That's going to happen. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
There is a chance.
What's with all that 1 in a million talk?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's possible. I think it's very
Absolutely.
realistic. I think if he can get, Monday next week, he's practicing, boots off the end of this week, and he's, or this weekend. And then Monday, when, they have Raider week that starts, that's preparation. Monday is when they kick everything off. If he's involved in all the stuff starting Monday, he's going to play.
There you go, folks. You heard it here first.
You heard it from Kevin.
From
He makes
me.
those decisions.
I'm pretty reliable.
Yeah. Well, if you want to go to a reliable website, go on over to chargerchat.com where you can check out all the sweet stuff we've got over there. T-shirts, hoodies, and stickers. You can chat it up with other Charger Chatteteers on our members section and ask questions and Ask Bolt Fam. So go check out chargerchat.com. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. I mean, obviously, if you want to subscribe, if you don't want to subscribe, and
we're not.
I understand. But
either way, it's fine.
if you're continuously watching us, I get
If you
it.
made it this
YouTube
far,
puts it. Yeah, come on,
toss the
just hit the
click.
subscribe. Just get it.
18 minutes in, you're still listening. You're not subscribed. Come on.
Who are we fooling?
Yeah, come on.
Come on. I mean, we are like an ant away from hitting that 3,000 mark. We're like, what, less than 20, I think, at this point?
What happens at 3,000? Do we get a present?
I mean,
No.
from
No
who?
play buttons for 3,000.
We're talking about this 3,000 like, oh my God, they're going to roll up with like the Brinks truck and like, whee!
I'm just saying, I'll at least
having.
shoot off a sparkler or something.
Yeah, we'll have some poppers.
Yeah, some
Some
Daniel
Daniel
good
poppers.
about it.
Hey! We'll have some Daniel poppers when we hit 3,000.
There you go.
Make it rain.
All right, gang. Well, now let's go on to the next segment. Do you know him? You freaking love him. Greg Experience.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Come on in, man. Kick your feet up.
Oh,
Greg Experience.
hello there.
Make yourself at home. Got some stuff to talk about, right? Moving on.
So at the time I'm recording this, the initial 53-man roster hit, and I'm not going to say there were a ton of surprises. The guys have talked about it, I'm sure, and all of you guys know what's what. But at this point, I will say it's sad. Sad time to see Michael Bandy get the axe. Not super surprised. Just when you look around the roster and see some of the guys that they kept, only so many people they can keep in certain positions. And we can sit here and argue about QB3 all day long, or Larry Roundtree is RB4. But we won't do that. This is what it is right now for the time being. And looks like this is what the Chargers may roll into the season with. Now, I wouldn't be shocked that if in the coming days some other changes are made, because again, this is only the initial. And by now, when you're watching this, some stuff very may well have already happened. But just a couple things I want to touch on here. And I won't get bogged down in the Jerry Tillery thing, because For those of you who follow me on Twitter, you already know how I feel about it. I've engaged in multiple conversations where I've repeated myself over and over again. So I won't do that here. We all have our differing opinions, which is perfectly fine. Who's to say who's right? We'll know when the season starts. And if the dude plays up to snuff, then great. I'm not against Jerry Tillery. Just feel like it may be time to move on. And at this point, they're kind of just, I've said this already, stuffing gauze in a wound as opposed to stitching it up. But look, if the guy's going to be a part of the team for the duration of the season, then I hope that he goes out and overachieves in whatever fashion he can, whatever that really means, whatever type of playing time and whatever part of the rotation he'll be. Of course, if he's a part of the team, I want him to succeed. And I know half of y'all won't care about this because if he plays well, then you'll be in my mentions on Twitter pretending like I never said this at all. So whatever. But I'm saying it now. If the guy makes the team, then I don't want him to fail, of course. I mean, this is the Chargers. This is the team that we root for. So, of course, we want every guy on the roster to perform. But moving along from that. So there are some cuts that have happened around the league that I think should interest the Chargers. A couple guys that I think would really help the team out in a few different areas. Now, I'm going to start off with the tight end position. I know what you're thinking. Hey, Craig, you got McKitty, got Parham, and Gerald Everett, of course, as the number one tight end in the grouping. But what's kind of been a reoccurring theme this training camp and off season with the tight end group? Dudes can't stay healthy. I've been a huge proponent, advocate for Donald Parham, but numerous injuries, recently a soft tissue situation with his hamstring. Haven't really been able to see what the guy's like fully out there, doing this thing on the field as a compliment to Gerald Everett as your second tight end, running sets where both he and Everett get out in the routes and you can use them both as weapons in the passing game. We haven't seen enough of that this offseason. So then you talk about Trey McKitty, who I've also been a big fan of. If you follow me draft before last, you know that I saw the potential there and I understood that the guy that he was at Florida State is the same type of cat that he could be for the Chargers. You could line him up at H-back, put him at fullback, and we've seen a little bit of that here and there. But again, someone else who dealt with some injuries. So we don't know quite what he is at this point, besides the fact that he is a very good blocking tight end. Great, right? Well, let's just say the Chargers find themselves in a situation where these guys are dealing with injuries again. And then suddenly those three dudes turn into one, and then you're hoping that Gerald Everett stays healthy, and they don't want to play that game. Someone got cut that I think the Chargers should absolutely have on their radar, and it's someone that I wanted them to go after this offseason prior to the Everett signing. Was going to be cheap then, will absolutely be cheap now. It's O.J. Howard. He got released by the Bills, and you're talking about a freakishly gifted athlete for the position. Hasn't really lived up to the billing in his time in the NFL thus far. Dealt with some injuries of his own. So I know what you're thinking. Well, Craig, if he hasn't been able to stay on the field, then what sets him apart from the other two guys that you're mentioning? And I'm just saying that it's worth taking a flyer on the dude. You get him in, see what he's about. And if he can contribute, great. It'll cost you next to nothing to do, so it won't hurt. And then it's another high reward, low risk player. I'm all about that. Outside of that, there is a really freakishly athletic edge player that was cut by the Minnesota Vikings. Goes by the name of Janarius Robinson. And got his RAS stuff right here. Now, look, if the Chargers staff is everything that they trump it up to be, then you're taking a flyer on someone with that athletic ability and that profile. Someone that you can get into the system and work to develop, and it might be a diamond in the rough. You can mold someone with these attributes. And again, I trust Brandon Staley to figure out how to incorporate someone with this type of ability potentially into his defense long term. And then you get someone that you don't pay very much to get a hold of that turns into something potentially special. Get him in a room with a Khalil Mack, the Joey Bosa, and now you're looking at a situation where, and also Kyle Van Noy, of course, playing a little bit of edge and inside linebacker as well. So it's another person that he can reference. get him in a room with those guys across from a Chris Rumpf working together, and then you're building real depth there. And you're talking about a long-term situation where you've got the elder statesman, and it feels really weird calling Joey that, but I mean, he is closer to the end than he is at the beginning, if you can believe it or not at this point. And just kind of some cues that I got from him in one of his interviews in the offseason, it kind of feels like he's probably not as long for the game as many of us would hope that he'd be. Definitely want to see him stick around for quite some time, but you got to prepare just in case. And then you might be building up 2 bookend edge players for later. And it just kind of solidifies your rotation as of right now. But for the future, you're pretty much situated then as well. So I just want to see them kind of get their hands on a couple guys here and there. And again, what we're seeing today, or when you're seeing this is Friday, but today on Tuesday, right off after these initial cuts, this roster probably still looks a little bit differently moving forward. So if they can get their hands on a couple of these dudes, or these 2 dudes in particular, maybe some other people, I've seen some other names around the league that might make sense. Then again, you're cooking with gas, man. And I'm all about building this team out for the long haul, because eventually you're gonna have to pay that guy number 10. And if you've been able to develop some kids here in the coming year or 2 before you got to start shelling out that money, I mean, it's probably after next year, then that helps your cause. Some other guys you won't really be able to afford and they'll have to walk. But if you've developed some players behind them, then you're doing what you're supposed to do as an organization, and you have a foothold in the NFL for more than just a year or 2, and that window becomes a little bit wider. So that's it for me, y'all. It's just me, your boy, Mr. Bull Gang, or Do Not Bang, also known on Twitter as TOP_FLYT3, and also catch me on YouTube at the Flight Deck Charger to the Game. Video should be out sometime within the next week. Had a really hectic schedule here the last couple weeks. Got some really awesome life news, and it's going to free me up a little bit more so I can talk to y'all, because I love doing that. So till the next time, again, y'all know what it is. Take it easy, stay bolted up, and okay, love you, bye.
Well, thank you, Craig, for another awesome Craig experience. So you're right. I mean, round of applause for Craig.
Golf clap.
Even if he is drafting Raiders in the fantasy league. But you make that aside, you make some good points, Craig. I mean, obviously, some of the arguments that we as Charger fans have with each other, with the wall, with the clouds, it's just like, we get it. Obviously, Jerry Tillery still being on the team. We need to support Jerry Tillery. And like I said, this might be a situation where we're like, okay, well, now he's surrounded by a bunch of different guys. Maybe his play comes up a little bit. I'm shamelessly positive. I'm looking for an opportunity for Jerry to do well.
It'll be way more fun for us when we start getting on the train and then he starts doing well. And we're we kind of saw that coming, right, guys? Let's get on the train, Kevin. Now, get supported.
Hold it. Yeah.
Come on, ride the train and ride it.
Whoop, whoop. And yeah, obviously, guys getting cut, there could be some players that might end up on this team. You never know. What could happen in the future. So,
never know.
Again, Craig, thank you for taking a look at that. Now it's time to go on to the next segment. It is the Bolt Beat with my man, Jason
Beat.
Welcome back to another edition of the Bolt Beat. I'm Jason Reed, acting site expert over at boltbeat.com. Follow us on Twitter, BB_Chargers, or myself on Twitter at EatYourReedies. This week, we got a lot to talk about. So, of course, we have the Chargers Content Creators Fantasy Football Draft. We alluded to it last week. The Chargers Chat guys have talked about it plenty. That's in the books. The draft is in the books. 14-team league. Not going to lie, not very happy with my team. A lot of Charger fans, you guys out there, probably not happy with my team either. We also have some betting odds. So we don't have Charger games yet. That is next week. I cannot wait. I'm counting down the days. However, I can't give my picks out this soon. We're 10 plus days away at the time of recording this. Instead, I'm going to give out some non-Chargers season bets that I like. These are future bets not involving the Chargers. I want to save those for, the weekly stuff once the season gets going. But these are non-Chargers bets. Future bets, I'm going to touch on those. And then to wrap it up, I just want to touch on the 53-man roster. It was finalized Tuesday. There's a lot of takeaways, but not a lot of takeaways, because I feel like the takeaways we would have had we kind of already knew going into the final day, like we knew that they were keeping 3 quarterbacks, etc. Won't spoil it too much there. First, content creators fantasy football draft. So I got my phone here, very professional, holding my phone on camera. And my team, look, it's not great, but it's a 14-team league. What do you expect when you have a 14-team league? I mean, there's a lot of us. There's a lot of, smart, quality content creators and fantasy football managers. I wasn't expecting to get a killer team. And quite frankly, it's a little rough in areas. My dog just literally groaned. I don't know if my mic picked that up, but I'm talking about it and he's upset about it. So I had the 6th or 7th overall pick. I don't recall. I said I was going to do a poll on Twitter, completely blanked, hand up. That's on me. I went with Jamar Chase. So last year, some background. I've been playing fantasy football every year since my freshman year of high school, which was 2012. I know I'm a little young. I'm 24 years old this month. Happy early birthday to me. And last year was the first year I had ever made the playoffs in fantasy football, playing 1 to 2 leagues a year. And the league I made the playoffs in, I actually won the finals in. I took a new strategy I've never had before. It was to stack an offense. I had Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, and Devontae Adams all on the same team. So this year I was like, okay, let's stack an offense. By the time my pick went around, Eckler was taken. I knew Herbert was going to be taken in the first round. As much as I love Herbert, like I didn't want to take him in the first and then still miss out on Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler. It just wasn't possible to stack the Chargers in this league. So I was like, okay, let me go with the Bengals. I took Jamar Chase, first round. Okay, I'm fine with that. Round 2, or was it round 3? I took T. Higgins. So that's my second wide receiver. I was like, okay, let's stack wide receiver. In my mind, I was like, let's go Joe Mixon round 2. Nope, didn't get Joe Mixon. He was obviously taken way before that. So my 2 receivers, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. That's the only Bengals I have, so I didn't even end up stacking them. I have Travis Kelce over at tight end. I believe he was my 2nd or 3rd round pick. Quarterback, we'll save that for last. My 2 running backs, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Ramondre Stevenson. Again, not great. It's got a Chief on the roster. I don't love that. And then my wide receiver flex, I have Jalen Waddle, which was actually an accidental pick. I wanted to take a running back, the Texans running back, and I was eating wings and my fingers were dirty and I didn't make the pick on time. That's on me. Kicker Matt Gay, defense Kansas City. Took those late in the draft. Doesn't really matter. My bench, it's all rookies. I mean, I have Brian Robinson Jr., who is unfortunately part of that, tragic, robbery attempt. He got shot. He's okay, but we don't know how he's going to play. That doesn't even matter. If he's going to play, I should say, but that doesn't even matter. His, health is obviously more important. We have George Pickens, Isaiah Pacheco, Garrett Wilson, Christian Watson. So all rookies there. But my quarterback, the one I'm getting the most flack for, Derek Carr, and rightfully so. Look, it's Derek Carr. Nobody likes Derek Carr. We all make fun of him. Everyone, Raider fans think he's elite. We know he's not elite. He's just Kirk Cousins 2.0. Look, I was in a spot in the draft. I needed a quarterback. It was him. And I don't even remember what the other option was. It was pretty bad. And I had to take someone. And in my mind, the Raiders are just going to be so bad that the defense is always going to let up a bunch of points because that defense is horrible. And they just traded another corner today, the day of recording this. So Derek Carr is going to put up a lot of garbage time points. That's my spin on this. I mean, Blake Bortles had a great year in 2015. No one thought he was a good quarterback, but he had 4,000 passing yards and 30 touchdowns. That's what I'm feeling out of Derek Carr. Not overly impressive, not a Pro Bowl or anything like that. Just a lot of garbage time points. That's what I'm hoping for. That way we can get the best of both worlds. Speaking of Derek Carr and the Raiders, though, when we talk on my future picks, hold on. First, let me know what you think of my fantasy team. I know you're going to just bash it because it has Derek Carr, but be honest. What do you think of my fantasy team? Speaking of Carr and the Raiders, though, one of my favorite future bets. So I have 4 future bets for you today. Non-Chargers future bets that I like. I may or may not have money on all of these or some of these and some more than others. A little bit of a degenerate, if I'm being honest. One of my favorite bets, probably my favorite futures bet that's not Chargers related, is Raiders under 8.5 wins. So that's, even money. It's minus 105 consensus. And look, the case is simple. The AFC West is loaded. We root against the Chiefs. We root against the Broncos. We root against the Raiders. I respect the Chiefs and Broncos. Russell Wilson's a great quarterback. He's a little cringy. He's on the decline, but he's a great quarterback. Pat Mahomes is a great quarterback. Andy Reid's a great head coach. They're obviously established. The Broncos, they have a decent roster around Russell Wilson, although they're kind of top heavy and have some holes. The Raiders, on the other hand, it's just hard for me to see a path in which they are a contending team, in which they are a playoff team, quite frankly. 8.5 wins. This means if you bet the over, are they going to go 9-8? Are they going to be the same as they were last year? Probably not. Or did they go 10-7? I don't even remember. I don't care, honestly. They're not. They're the losing team. Someone has to lose in this division. They have the second hardest schedule of anyone in the division, only ahead of the Chiefs. And their schedule is, let me tell you, it's they're way down here. Everyone else is it's just so much harder than everyone else's. But Yes, they have Derek Carr. Yes, they have Devontae Adams. I shouldn't even say yes, they have Derek Carr. Why is that a compliment? Yes, they have Devontae Adams. Yes, they have Hunter Renfrow. Yes, they have Darren Waller. They have a quarterback who can manage the game. I will give them that. Their offensive line is horrible, though, and the game-managing quarterback is not good behind a bad offensive line. The run game, I think, is overrated. Josh Jacobs is fine. I don't think he's anything like spectacular, and I don't think the depth behind him is necessarily all that impressive either. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball. Max Crosby's great. Don't get me wrong. But I do feel like he's a little bit overrated because if you look at the pressure numbers generated, PFF versus Pro Football Reference, it's like a discrepancy of like 50. Like I don't PFF, I'm not. I know they've had their things with the Bengals and everything. I don't think they're inflating Max Crosby's pressure numbers, but I think he's a little bit overrated. And I think Chandler Jones is extremely overrated. He had not almost half, but he had a lot of his pressures and sacks in week 1 against the Tennessee Titans team who was battling COVID, if I believe, and then was just in Nwosu the rest of the year, which Nwosu's a fine player, but no one would be clamoring over the Raiders if they signed Nwosu over Chandler Jones. So I don't think that's that big of an addition. Denzel Perryman had a good year. He's an average linebacker, slightly above average. I'll give that to him, but that's not even that important in today's NFL. What's important is the secondary and the pass rush. Yes, they have a decent pass rush. Chargers have a good O-line. They're coming up against good O-lines across the division. And the secondary is awful. Teams are going to be scoring on that team nonstop. And the Raiders, they almost remind me of a worse version of the Chargers last year. The Chargers had a bottom 5 offense. They had weapons, but they had an elite quarterback. So you're thinking bottom 5 offense with some or bottom 5 defense, with some good pass rushers, Joey Bosa and Uchenna Nwosu, with a great offense with an elite quarterback, and they still went 9-8. So then you take the Raiders, worse secondary than the Chargers arguably had last year because they don't have a Derwin James out there. Pass rush, I would say equal, maybe slightly better than the Chargers were last year, but even then, that's hit or miss. Offensive line worse than the Chargers had last year. Quarterback worse than the Chargers had last year. The weapons, I'd say, are marginally better, but I don't think it's actually that much better when you factor in Austin Eckler as well. So how are they going to go the same as the Chargers? Yes, every year is different. Every opponent is different, but I just don't see how they win 9 games. And I think it's free money to bet they're under. Biased or not biased. If I was a, Falcons fan, I would think this same bet, which I would never be a Falcons fan because one of my other futures is the Falcons' worst record at plus 550. They are tied for the third lowest odds of any NFL team. Look, I think Atlanta's a dumpster fire. I don't believe in their head coach. They have Marcus Mariota at quarterback, who is the backup for Derek Carr. What is that telling you? They don't have any skill position guys outside of Kyle Pitts that I really like. I don't think Cordarrelle Patterson's going to have the same impact he had last year. And it was kind of top heavy with his season. Like his really good games were great, but then outside of that, he was good, but not like, spectacular. And the defensive side of the ball isn't very good either. I think the Falcons are the least talented team in the league, and that's counting the Houston Texans. And that's because I think Davis Mills is better than Mac Jones. But that's a completely different argument. That's like my bold take of the NFL season. So I have Falcons worst record plus 550. Another negative one. I have Mike McCarthy, first coach fired, plus 450. He actually has the second highest odds, only behind Matt Rule, or second lowest odds. Matt Rule, he's obviously the consensus favorite with everything going on in Carolina. And, I think honestly, if you think it's a coin flip and you want to put, one unit on each, or let's just say $100 because plus 450, you put $100 on Rule, $100 on McCarthy. One of them wins, you're coming out positive no matter what. I like McCarthy more because I think there's more expectations in Dallas, and I don't think Dallas is going to be very good this year, and that's going to, prompt Jerry Jones to do something sooner rather than later. And then finally, a positive one. I have the Miami Dolphins. Yes, I know there's a little bit of beef between Chargers fans and Dolphins fans. I have them making the playoffs at plus 157. The case for Miami, look, Tua's obviously not Justin Herbert. He's not even in the same conversation, so let's not even start that. But I do think he has had an unfavorable start to his career. I don't think he's as horrible as we've seen, whether it be the offensive coordinator and not having plays for him, bad weapons, bad offensive line, all of the above. He hasn't had a good start. Now he's in a system where he has a better offensive line. He has Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. He has other weapons as well. He has a new head coach, Mike McDaniel, who's coming from the 49ers. And I think this Dolphins team is going to be the AFC's 49ers, where they're going to have a mediocre quarterback who can manage the game. Tua equals Jimmy G. And they're going to have weapons where they throw the ball short, and they get yak yards. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle versus Deebo Samuel. And name the San Francisco 49ers running back. They always have different weeks. And then, they have the good defense. They have a good defense. They went 9-8 last year. And you look at the rest of the AFC. I don't like the AFC East. I think the Patriots are going to regress this year. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I think the Bengals are going to regress. The Ravens are obviously going to be better, but the Steelers just don't have the quarterback. Deshaun Watson's out for 11 games, should be 17. And then you look over at the AFC West, and it's like Chargers and Chiefs are a lock. I think the Chargers are going to make it. I think the Raiders are going to have a losing record. So then what are we looking at? Oh, and then the AFC South, I think the Titans are going to get worse, and the other teams in that division aren't playoff teams. So I think if you're looking at it, you're looking at the Colts winning the division. I have the Ravens winning the division, the Bills winning the division, the Chargers winning the division. And then you have 3 playoff teams. You have the Chiefs. I mean, we have to pencil them in. You have the Bengals, and then you have the Broncos / the Dolphins as the next option / Raiders. But come on, let's be honest, / Titans. I think the Dolphins are the best of those teams. So I'm taking Dolphins, make the playoffs, plus 157. So those are my 4 prop bets next week as we hype up week 1. I'm so excited. I'll have our picks against the spread, our over-under, and any player props for you to look out on if you want to make some money. Hopefully make some money. I don't want to give the listeners bad picks that lose money, but be on the lookout for that. As far as the 53-man roster, to button up this bolt beat, I don't know what to say, because some of the frustrations is stuff we've kind of already covered and things we already known. The 3 quarterbacks, the 4 running backs. We already knew they were going in this direction. So it's kind of like crying over spoiled milk at this point to complain about it. It is what it is. Yes, I would have preferred to see Michael Bandy make the roster over Easton Stick. And I got in a debate with a Charger fan on this on Twitter. And it's like, look, whatever you think Bandy's going to do as a wide receiver 6, it's still going to be more impactful than Easton Stick as the 3rd quarterback. Yes, Justin Herbert likes the quarterback room. He says that. What is he going to say? Is he going to come out and be like, no, I hate those guys. I hate my quarterback room. Of course, he's going to say he loves the dynamic 1. 2, Easton Stick's not going to get claimed. I mean, anyone who's watched him in the preseason the last 4 years, he's not fantastic. He's not, there's so many quarterbacks. Kellen Mond in Minnesota just got let go. A bunch of other quarterbacks have gotten let go. I don't think Stick is like so much better than those guys that he would instantly get claimed. I think he would go to the practice squad, and then you could still have him in the building around the guys and helping prepare. The same, by the time you listen to this, Michael Mann, might have already been claimed. He might not have been claimed. We might have hit the gold mine and he's still on the practice squad, and that's great. But I just think having depth at receiver is really important at skill position specifically, because injuries are inevitable in the NFL. Charger fans hate when I say this, but like the Chargers are going to have injuries this year. It's going to happen. The question then becomes, A, which positions do they suffer injuries? Obviously, the team wants to manage the workload of certain positions like a running back to make sure they don't happen. But B, how they respond to those injuries. If we're expecting an injury-free season for the Chargers, that's just, that's not going to happen. It's football. It's a physical game. Every team gets injured. And you never know what can happen. You never know what can happen in a skill position, especially when you have someone who has taken this opportunity, has been great in the preseason, has earned it to miss out for, a 3rd quarterback again. But it's crying over spoiled milk at this point. I think the only real big surprise was Mark Webb not making the roster. Although on my 53-man roster prediction over at boltbeat.com, go check it out. I didn't have him making the roster just because his injury concerns last year. He missed some practices this year with another injury. The best ability is availability. And I think they were, the Chargers looked at it like, hey, let's put him on the practice squad. I don't think he's going to get claimed. We'll do a Joe Reed approach where Joe Reed got put on the practice squad as he was dealing with an injury. Let him get up to full speed. And then if Dean Leonard, struggles, or if someone gets hurt in the secondary, Mark Webb's the first guy up, and they feel comfortable with it. So I think that's kind of the logic there. And then the other surprise was Amin Agbogbamiga. I always mess up his name. Sorry if I mispronounced it. Making the roster. Chargers undervalue linebacker. They don't pay for linebacker. They didn't pay for Kaiser White. But then they include a 6th linebacker on the depth chart. Was a little bit surprising to me. I thought they might go this route and have like a more special teams approach to the back end of the roster. I don't think that's like a hot take or anything. I just thought they were going to go with Raheem Lame, the undrafted free agent. I do think he has legitimate special teams value, and he's in the secondary, which Brandon Staley values. Instead, they went Dean Leonard and then went Amin instead. I also had Hunter Kampmoyer making it because I wasn't sure of the injury status of Donald Parham. Again, Hunter has special teams value. He was taking Drew Tranquill's special teams reps when Tranquill was banged up for a little bit there. So, that was the only real surprises, and the rest was kind of what we expected. The one thing I'll leave you guys with before you get back to the Charger Chat guys is a question for you. Now, by the time this airs, because the internet and how long these things take to put together, this question might already be answered. So just ignore me. Call me stupid in the chat. Just kidding. Don't call me that. I'm very sensitive. Should Justin Jackson return to the Chargers? Justin Jackson, waived by the Detroit Lions, despite having a fantastic preseason. He was waived. They chose other running backs over him. Should the Chargers go out and bring in Justin Jackson to replace Larry Roundtree on the active roster? We have 4 running backs right now. Austin Eckler, Isaiah Spiller, Joshua Kelly, and Larry Roundtree. Should Justin Jackson be that 4th running back after a solid preseason, after an offseason where they arguably shouldn't have let him go in the first place, and considering that Larry Roundtree really hasn't stepped up like we wanted / expected him to in training camp? Let me know what you think. Let me know in the YouTube comments. Leave the Charger Chat guys a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and let me know down there. Again, don't call me dumb though. I'm very sensitive. And thank you all for listening. Thank you all for welcoming me on this Charger Chat podcast. It's been a blast. Back to the guys.
Jason, don't try to spin the drafting of Derek Carr. I understand you feel like a jackass because you did it. Don't try to spin it to make it sound like you made a good move.
You did it. Don't spin it.
That's right. No, I'm just kidding.
But what I do like about the Raider portion of your segment is betting that the Raiders are not going to win 9 games. I'm into the under on that. I need to find a place to allow that bet because I'm in on that.
Yeah. As we made mention, this is a tough division, AFC West. You've got the Chargers, the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Raiders. And
the
right
Raiders
now,
are cutting first-round
Raiders
picks
are cutting first-round linemen. Like, come on. Like, how can you expect them to really even make it to the playoffs at this point? Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense. And I would absolutely take that bet on the under for the Raiders. And then to answer your question, as far as picking Justin Jackson back up, I don't know, man. I mean, I was actually I don't want to say that I was happy that he was gone, that the Chargers didn't, keep him on or whatever, anything like that. Obviously, I want these guys have their livelihoods, and I'm not celebrating when a guy doesn't have a job. Right. But I feel like the talent of running back that we have right now, especially after seeing the explosiveness of Joshua Kelly, and knowing the potential of Isaiah Spiller, I mean, really, are we talking about taking Roundtree. Justin and letting go of Roundtree? Is that the idea?
I think that's the idea. And I wouldn't, I think it was, what did Detroit sign him for? I don't have the numbers in front of me. So they lured him over there for a reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we offered him something or didn't. So if he were to want to come back on a cheaper deal, I think that's an upgrade over Larry Roundtree.
So bring him back as the 4th string running back?
If it was an option and you can make that work, I think he's a better running back than Roundtree. And what we have with Kelly, what we have with Spiller, those are those big power guys like we talked about all the time. Like an extra shifty guy that, he definitely did work for us in previous years. So if he's healthy, I don't see, coach always says he's going to look around the NFL and really evaluate everything. And why not come home? Could make it work.
I mean, but would you rather Justin Jackson over, who are we talking about? Marlon Mack, Sony Michel, like other caliber running backs that are being let go by other teams? Would you rather Justin Jackson over those guys?
Well, the age thing, I would. Some of these older guys, I probably would. And the familiarity, there's something to be said for that. He was just here. He's just familiar with everyone. It'd be easier for him to jump in and get going right away. That's my thought, at least. What do you think, Kyle?
I don't know. Either way, he's jumping in as the number 4 guy. I don't think you bring Justin Jackson back in and he becomes the 2 or 3. So I don't even think he's interested in that type of role or position. At his stage in his career right now, he's still in his prime. I mean, he just finished his rookie contract. That's when you should be looking for that big payday, looking to get reps. Like, he wants to go somewhere where he can play. The amount of reps that he's going to get in our backfield is going to be so minimal because he offers what we already have, like the Josh Kellys and the Isaiah Spillers and the Austin Ecklers. Like, that's Justin Jackson is that. So we already chose Josh Kelly over Justin Jackson. So Larry Roundtree is that big bruiser that gets 2 yards when you need 2 yards. Justin Jackson doesn't do that. So I don't really see the fit there.
And who knows? This may be a moot point. He might have already gone somewhere else by the time this episode comes out on Friday. So
who knows?
Tomato.
That's right. Well, Jason, thank you for giving us another fantastic Bolt beat. Don't make fun of him, folks. He's a sensitive guy.
He's a nice guy. Yeah.
I don't want to see Jason cry. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I don't want to see that.
No.
All right, gang. Well, I think that's it for this episode of the Charger Chat.
It's Raider week.
Final thoughts? Yeah, it's Raider week.
Next time we're on here, it's Raider week.
Oh, I'm so excited. So ridiculous how excited I am.
We are just that much closer to the home opener, to walking into SoFi Stadium and
skipping into the SoFi Stadium,
floating, anything into SoFi Stadium,
warming our way in,
piggybacking.
Right. You name it, we'll do it.
So I can't wait to see these guys hit the field. We'll talk about it more on Tuesday, but until then, I think that's going to do it for us here at the Charger Chat, folks. Don't forget to bolt up, because we're ready for any squad, any place.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.